In the summer of 1969, Xi Jinping arrived in Yongtai County for the first time. He stepped off a small bus and looked around at wide fields of green rice plants. The warm sun shone on his face, and he felt both excitement and worry. He had grown up in Beijing, a large city with tall buildings and busy streets. Now he was far from home, living in a simple village where every day began and ended with the land. Each morning before sunrise, Xi rose from his narrow bed in a shared dormitory. He met other young people sent to work in the countryside. Together, they walked down a dirt path to reach the flooded rice fields. The air was cool and filled with the sound of frogs and birds. Xi learned to plant rice seedlings by bending at the waist and pressing each young shoot into the soft mud. His hands became wet and heavy, but he moved carefully. He realized that growing food was slow work that needed patience and care. One afternoon, after the sun climbed high in the sky, an older farmer named Uncle Zhao invited Xi to rest under a banyan tree. The ground lay cool under its wide leaves. Uncle Zhao spoke of his own childhood, when he had walked barefoot across the fields to reach school. He told stories of neighbors sharing meals and helping each other during floods. Xi listened with wide eyes. He felt a growing respect for people who worked hard and supported one another. He understood that a strong community depended on simple acts of kindness. Life in the countryside pressed Xi to learn more than hard work. He faced cold winter nights when the dormitory roof let in icy drafts. He huddled under a thin blanket and thought of his family in Beijing. He missed warm meals and soft beds. In those quiet hours, he learned to be patient with himself and with others. He realized that challenges help build strength inside a person's heart and mind. At the local school, Xi found new friends. Some called him Beijing Boy because he spoke in a different accent. Others asked about life in the city. Xi answered politely and smiled. He joined games of tag after classes and helped classmates with simple math problems. As he worked alongside them in the fields, he showed he was willing to learn and to share. Slowly, the children no longer saw him as an outsider. They saw him as someone who respected their way of life and who did not complain about hard tasks. When the harvest season came, heavy rain threatened to ruin the golden rice. Storm clouds darkened the sky, and water rose quickly in the fields. Xi grabbed a wooden pitchfork and waded into the water. He and other workers lifted wet bundles of rice and carried them to a dry barn. His clothes were soaked and mud covered his boots, but he felt proud. In that moment, he learned the power of teamwork. He saw how people could protect their crops and their lives when they worked together. In all these experiences, Xi's view of life changed. He understood that leadership began with helping others. He discovered that respect was earned by hard work and by listening. He saw how simple gestures, sharing water, offering a kind word, carrying a heavy load, could build trust and friendship. By the end of his first year in Yongtai, Xi Jinping was no longer the city boy who had arrived filled with doubt. He had become part of a community that taught him patience, humility, and strength. He knew now how to carry heavy tools and how to carry hope in his heart. As he looked back on the flooded fields and the smiling faces of fellow workers, he promised himself to remember these lessons for the rest of his life. In 1975, Xi Jinping returned to Beijing with a mixture of pride and nervous energy. He had earned a place at Tsinghua University, one of China's most respected schools. The tall gates and quiet courtyards felt different from the busy markets and crowded dormitories he had known in Yongtai County. As he stepped onto the campus for the first time, he held his notebook tightly and took a deep breath. ready to learn new subjects and meet new people. In the lecture hall, she sat near the front and listened as the professor explained chemical processes. Each term was new and sometimes hard to follow. After class, she often stayed behind to review his notes. He opened his English dictionary slowly, looking up words one by one. He wrote down each definition in his notebook, then practiced saying the words aloud. His voice was soft at first, but with every repetition he grew more confident. One afternoon, she joined a study group under a large elm tree on campus. 4 classmates sat in a circle, books open on their laps. They took turns explaining concepts from their chemistry textbook. When one member struggled, the others offered simple examples or drew diagrams in the dirt. Sai learned to ask questions and to give clear answers. He felt the warmth of friendly support, a feeling that reminded him of the work teams in Yongtai. He discovered that learning together made difficult ideas easier to understand. Outside the science buildings, she saw posters advertising meetings of the Communist Youth League. He remembered the stories Uncle Zhao had told about community service and helping others. She decided to attend a meeting. He entered a small hall where students sat in rows. The speaker talked about organizing volunteer programs and sharing knowledge with local children. C felt a spark of excitement. He raised his hand and asked how he could help. The group leaders smiled and invited him to join a tutoring project for children who could not afford extra classes. That same week, Ji began teaching simple math and English phrases to a group of children at a neighborhood school. He stood at the front of a dusty classroom, chalk in hand. He spoke slowly and clearly, repeating each sentence until the students felt comfortable copying him. When their faces lit up with understanding, he felt a sense of joy he had not known before. He realized that leadership was more than giving orders. It was guiding others gently and celebrating their success. At a community event held in a narrow alley of Beijing's hutongs, she spoke to a small crowd of parents and neighbors. He described the benefits of study groups and free tutoring. He spoke in simple English and clear Chinese, using examples from his own life. He urged parents to trust their children's curiosity. His voice trembled at first, but as he continued, it grew steady and strong. When he finished, the audience applauded. In that moment, she saw the power of clear words spoken from the heart. Back at Tsinghua, Xi's professors began to notice his dedication. Dr. Wang, his academic advisor, invited him to help with a research project on organic chemistry. Xi spent long hours in the laboratory, carefully measuring chemicals and recording results. Some experiments failed, and liquid spilled onto the bench. Instead of feeling discouraged, Xi cleaned his workspace and tried again. He learned that mistakes were part of the process. Each failure taught him to adjust his methods and to pay closer attention to detail. Between experiments, Xi continued writing short essays in English. He described his first days at Tsinghua, his experiences in Yongtai fields, and his work with children. He shared these essays with classmates, who praised his clear storytelling and encouraged him to keep improving. He discovered that writing helped him organize his thoughts and practice new vocabulary. Each sentence he wrote became a small victory. By the time graduation approached, Xi Jinping had grown into a thoughtful young man with both technical knowledge and a caring spirit. He had learned to listen more than he spoke, to help others more than he sought praise, and to embrace challenges as chances to learn. He understood that true leadership began with small acts of service and with patient effort on every task. As he walked across the graduation stage, Xi felt a quiet confidence. He knew that the lessons of Tsinghua, study groups under elm trees, tutoring children in narrow hutongs, late nights in the laboratory, would guide him in the years ahead. He carried with him a promise to continue learning and to lead with kindness. In that moment, he looked toward the future, ready to use his skills and his heart to make a positive difference in the world. After graduation, Xi Jinping moved to Shenzhen, a small port city that was growing very quickly. He joined a team working on new factories and roads. Every morning he met with engineers and local workers to discuss plans. He asked simple questions and listened carefully. He learned that good ideas came from many people, not just from the top. He walked through crowded markets and talked with shop owners about their needs. He saw that development must go hand in hand with caring for people's lives. When heavy rains flooded parts of Shenzhen, Xi organized a meeting in the town hall. He asked each village leader to describe the damage and share ideas for fixing it. He wrote down their concerns on large sheets of paper. Then he and his team found machines to pump out water and built small barriers to protect homes. The work was hard and took many days, but at the end, families returned to dry houses. Xi felt proud that he had helped people feel safe again. He learned that fast growth was only good when it did not harm the community. After several years in Shenzhen, Xi moved to Hebei province. There he faced a new challenge. Factories had polluted the rivers. Fishermen could not catch fish, and children became sick. Xi held meetings by the riverbank. He invited factory managers and local residents to share their problems. He encouraged factory owners to invest in cleaner machines. He spoke gently but firmly about the need to protect health and the environment. Slowly, factories changed filters and used less water. Fish returned, and children played along clean riverbanks. Xi saw how listening and gentle guidance could solve hard problems. Next, Xi went to lead part of Fujian province on China's southeast coast. He worked with local fishermen and farmers to improve their lives. He helped connect them with foreign buyers who wanted to buy fish and tea. He spoke simple English in meetings with international guests, saying, "We welcome friends from other countries." He watched as new jobs were created and as villages sent more products to world markets. He felt hope for a more open China, one that learned from others while sharing its own culture. In 2013, Xi Jinping took on the highest national roles. He became General Secretary of the Communist Party and then President of China. At an international summit, he announced a new vision called One Belt, One Road. He explained that countries could build roads, railways, and ports together. He used clear, slow English and simple Chinese, saying, "Let us work together for common growth." Leaders from Asia, Europe, and Africa listened and asked questions. Some worried about costs, others asked about local jobs. Xi promised to respect each nation's needs and to bring benefits for all people. As One Belt, One Road projects began, Xi faced criticism and praise. Some projects moved too slowly, others sparked new businesses. Trade tensions with other major economies tested his leadership. He met with diplomats and business leaders to discuss fair trade rules. In private, he wrote notes in a small red notebook. Listen more, serve more. He remembered the fields of Yongtai and the students under the elm tree. He knew that caring for people's daily lives was more important than grand speeches. In quieter moments, Xi reviewed letters from villagers and emails from young students. He wrote personal replies when he could, thanking them for their ideas. He believed that true leadership meant staying connected to ordinary people. He walked through crowded Beijing streets and sometimes stopped to ask about a shopkeeper's morning. He smiled and said, "Thank you for your hard work." Simple words like these built trust across the country. For English learners, Xi's journey offers clear lessons. First, practice speaking slowly and listening closely, just as he did in Shenzhen meetings. Second, learn new words by writing a small journal. For example, note words like development, pollution, and initiative, then use each in a sentence about your own life. Third, join or create a small discussion group to share stories of helping others. Talk about a local problem and brainstorm simple solutions together. Fourth, role play a short meeting where you ask questions and summarize ideas. This will build confidence in speaking English and in guiding conversations. Xi Jinping steps onto China's national stage show that leadership grows from simple acts, walking through a market, listening under a banyan tree, writing down people's concerns and saying thank you. His vision for One Belt, One Road reminds us that cooperation with respect can bring shared success. By learning from his example, English learners can grow language skills and leadership qualities at the same time. When you practice new words with kindness and patience, you carry hope in your heart and help build a better future for everyone. Xi Jinping's story shows how simple actions can lead to great change. He began in rice fields, learning hard work and patience. At university, he studied chemistry, practiced English with friends, and helped children learn. In Shenzhen, he listened to workers and solved local problems. In Hebei and Fujian, he balanced growth with caring for people and the environment. Finally, as president, he reached out to many countries with the One Belt, One Road plan. Through every step, he led by listening, serving, and using clear, gentle words. The deepest lesson is that small acts of service build trust and strength. You can apply this today by helping a neighbor, studying English with a friend, or speaking kindly. When you listen first and act with care, you make your world better. Congratulations on finishing this story. By listening closely, you have improved your English skills. Now it's time for a quick question. Which lesson will you remember most? A. Listen before you speak. B. Help others first. Please comment A or B below to let us know your choice. If you enjoyed this lesson, please subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us create more free, high-quality content. If you can, please consider donating to cover our costs and keep these lessons available for all learners. Thank you for learning with us.